All right.
Should we hot these mics up?
The mics are hot. There is definitely we say the hot mic in terms of like it's on, right? But there's also a hot mic like, oh, it's really super loud.
Oh, right.
We make the mic hot a little bit in some of these interviews.
Yeah.
I'm happily doing a little bit of editing to, deal with such things.
Good.
Yeah. The main thing I realized is that I think it's generally fine, but so we use the mic, dear listener, we use the mic that Epi usually uses. So so you sound exactly the same, right? Because one reason you use this mic is for whatever reason, it picks up your voice very accurately.
I'm trying to remember what the term from Pacific Rim is, where you're in sync.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like there's the maybe there's not a special term. Maybe they just
they just say they're synced or something.
They're synced, or that's me and the mic.
Yeah. And then we put the guest we made sure that it was in the middle, pointing at the guest, so that we got them clearly. And then I was generally sitting to the other side. I'm not super far away or whatever, but the timbre of my voice is different than yours.
Oh, interesting.
And also my speech pattern, I tend to kind of like dip and go a little bit quieter while I'm having a thought, and I come back up at the end. And so at home, this all kind of gets evened out with compression or whatever. But these recordings, it's like the guest sounds good, you sound exactly the same, and there's just background noise, and then I'm kind of muffled off in the distance.
Well, we'll have to figure out. Okay. So first off, really, really enjoyed doing those interviews. I think we both agree on that. That has been. We are recording, right? Like, we're not just you and I are just. We're just chatting, because I'm not gonna just tell you this. I want it's a waste of my time to just talk to my friend.
Must know.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. The first one we did was Evan, I believe. Yep. Evan Torna, an old friend of ours, and legit scholar.
A legit scholar
who's also one of the quote unquote scholars.
You're all legit scholars, but he gets to put doctor in front of his name.
Yeah. And we were talking to him as sort of like our experiment, technical experiment. We wanted to see if it worked, but also to just kind of see, does this have juice? Like, is this a thing that we're interested in doing, right? Like we thought, hey, some podcasters do things like this. Maybe this is, in the past, we've had a few special guests on the various podcasts we've done, and that's been fine, but I never felt like I was a particularly good interviewer, right? Like it's a skill, right? It's in unlike podcasting,
right, which requires no skill.
No skill. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I know. There's a distinction between having an interview guest on your show and being a good interviewer of guests.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can get into a certain frame of mind when you're podcasting that is, I think a lot of times people will make fun of it, and rightly so, where you think you know what you're doing. Anyways, the point is, doing these interviews was just a blast. Having these interviews as an excuse to talk to certain people was a blast.
That's great.
I spent a lot of time hanging out with some of these people that we talked to. I spent not much time hanging out with a bunch of other people we talked to, and this was like our excuse to just hang and talk and enjoy. It was a great excuse to meet some new people who are doing things that I find interesting, both in like how they're doing their booths or how the games that they're making, or man, that was good, because like we talked about this a little bit during the convention, and I think at some point we started realizing everyone had this COVID what's the word I'm looking for? Just like setback, right?
Yeah.
The lockdown, the COVID itself, and just a lot of people, myself included, like COVID hit, and I was like, maybe conventions aren't my thing anymore. Maybe I won't do them. And now that I'm like starting to get back into it, this is the first one that I did where I felt like, I want to get back to but it was very hard. My first day there, I didn't. I knew the answer. The answer was to go play games at Games on Demand. That's always been the answer. But I didn't.
What am I even doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, and then by the end, I was like, I don't want it to end.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good. But like I said, you need something. I've been really talking here, but I often say that, like, as game designers, and when it comes to networking, you're making friends kind of networking, we have an advantage because we have a built-in excuse to do it, right? To play games. You go and you play games and you get to meet people. That's literally
that's it.
What other people do to meet people, right?
Right.
And I'm just saying, embrace that. It's a superpower.
Doing the interviews it was another one of those where it's like, okay, here's a good excuse to
exactly
have a little structured, like, let's sit down and talk. And that was a good way to open up some of these new friendships, which was really great. There was something you said, and I was like, I have something to say about that. Now I don't remember.
Yeah,
it'll
you have to argue with me about it.
Yeah. So I'm in the edit now for that episode. And it is funny because I think it totally works. It's totally appropriate that the one with Evan, like, we talk about, okay, this is the playtest of this idea, right? And that's like part of that conversation. It's also, I think, the shortest one by maybe not a lot, but like it's definitely the shortest one. And that struck me because I don't remember it being particularly short.
I don't either. Yeah, I know that we started to. There was how the sausage is made. The only time I was really aware of the amount of time we were spending was the last pre-recorded, which were Jim Crocker, the spilled coffee, more blueberries booth, and then Gene Koo.
Yeah.
I was only aware of like how much because we had scheduled them.
Right, because there was actually
one right after the other.
We actually had kind of like a hard out for those.
Yeah.
Not for Gene's technically, but like
the others. Yeah. So I was like, it was two things were happening. Number one, I was concerned because didn't have like really good ways to communicate with these people. And so I was just like, meet us by Games on Demand at this time. And so I was like, I got to make sure I'm visible and around Games on Demand at that time, for this. Second of all, we were recording on my phone.
Oh,
which meant
I didn't even think about that.
which is my timepiece. So the whole time I'm like, I don't know what time it is. So like throughout it, I'm just like, should we be wrapping up? I'm really loving this conversation, but also I've made obligations. I've made
plans,
promises, plans. Yeah. Commitments. I've made commitments. That's the word I'm looking for. But it's fine. It all worked out really quite well.
Yeah. I mean, everything's in the show notes in that episode, but like, it was kind of interesting how the conversations that we had, other than Gene, were not about games. We're not about like the games that people are doing. Like they weren't like, let's talk about your game. Gene, we talked about Bonsai Diary a little bit, but
and journaling games in general, like how
but that was kind of like the entree just into talking. Like it was like, well, this is what let's start here. Because it's kind of the point of reference we have for you as a person. And then we got to talking more about like community and being engaged with your practice as a designer and like all that stuff, which was more like the juice, So I hope no one feels like we did them a disservice by not talking about their actual games. But I think the conversations stand for themselves.
We'll put links. We're going to put links, which is like link people to their games and their stores and check them out. We talk to them because their games drew us in,
right?
And that's
but we're more interested in the people, right? And kind of what we're doing here. I had a great time. I did learn that I think I am now a two session Games on Demand guy. I mean, in previous years, I was getting my badge through them, so I was doing the 4 sessions.
You do the 4 session thing.
And that was fine, but also the third session is the grind. Like, the first one is exciting. The second one, you're in the swing. The last one is kind of like, usually I would do it Sunday morning, and like the Sunday morning slot is generally actually really good because only people who really want to be there are there.
It's nice and chill. I say this about Sunday morning swords. Like, I love doing it because it's like, we've all had a great convention. if you've had a miserable convention, you've already left. Like, why would you stick around for games on demand?
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to try and save my experience with this last game. It's like, it's generally not. At least I haven't experienced that.
Yeah.
But that third one is when the 1,000-yard stare sets in, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do this.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'll just schedule 3 because I wanted to be present and do the thing. And then that third one, I really did have to psych myself up for. Because I also had a very unexpected trajectory with my games, which was, again, in the interview, we talked about a little bit with Jim, but my first game was Imp the Perverse, which I was bringing back out of the depths of time, just because I've been wanting to play it, and I'm like, why the hell not? It also came up as the drive-through deal of the day at the beginning of the month. So drive-through,
it was on your mind.
Yes, it was on my mind, whispering to me. But drive-through RPG, if you're not familiar, has the deal of the day promotion where every day there's one product that is at a deep discount, and they put that right on their front page. So it's highly promoted and visible, as the deal of the day. And to get into that,
you get in line.
You have to get in line. They have this whole system of points where you get points basically based on your sales, and then you can use the points to run your stuff in they have little ad banners that you can run ads in that are part of the site. And also you can spend those on submitting your thing to be deal of the day. And so once you've built up enough points, you can submit, and then it goes into the queue, and then it just comes up whenever it comes up. And that's basically what I use points for now. For a while, I was doing the little promo things, and I don't know. It doesn't not help, but it's hard to tell if it helps,
Right. Yeah.
But that's the only thing to do with the points is to do those or to do deals of the day. So I just hadn't been using them. I had enough at the beginning of the year, so I put it in January maybe is when I submitted it, and then they tell you a couple of days ahead when it's been picked. So it just takes however long it takes to get through the line. So it popped up at the beginning of June. It's all right, we're doing it. And it did pretty well. People it moved a bunch of copies of the PDF. And yeah, I wasn't I need to capitalize on this, but it's just it was on my mind. So I put it on my menu for games on demand. And then Jim was the first person picking in the first slot or whatever and chose that. So it's all right, thanks, Jim. Sincerely, though, that was good.
Thanks, Jim. Yes.
I was happy that happened. And that session was very good. So, it was nice. And then, my next slot, that was the one that got picked again. And so I was all right, I guess we're not doing any wrestling. And then so for the third one, I was maybe I'll just cross it off just to do wrestling because, I can do that's a pretty easy lift, but I just wasn't really feeling jazzed about it.
I saw you talking to some games on demand goers about it for the third time.
Yes.
And they seemed jazzed about it. Just so you know, I think you were getting some heat for that game that you hadn't, but yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
No, I think we were just chatting about it because it was on my menu.
Yeah.
And I think if it had gone, it would have been totally fine. / good. Usually the people who want to play Worldwide Wrestling are excited to do it, right? So it's I just have to get over myself with my energy levels and that stuff. But I was you know what? I brought my stuff. I'll go ahead and put my Mortal Skein playtest on in place of Imp because I'd also gone through all my play materials. I printed out all the sheets because in Imp the Perverse it has what's called chapters, which are pre-gen scenarios. There's 3 in the book. I usually run one of them at conventions. I was I'm going to run a different one. So I printed out one set of the pre-gen sheet for that scenario. And then I got one of them back. One of the players just does everything in a notebook. So I got that sheet back. So I had 3 sheets left for the next game, and I had 4 players. So, but I have all the write-ups in the book. So I filled out a blank sheet real quick for the character that the other, the 4th person wanted to play. And then they walked away, and I had 1 sheet left. I mean, you could reuse it, but that had writing on it and stuff. And I just didn't get around to trying to use the hotel printer to reprint them, whatever. Because I like them to be double-sided, and
the hotel that gave us coffee, but not a coffee maker.
But not a coffee maker. Yeah.
Coffee grinds, but not a coffee maker.
Yep.
Yeah, that hotel.
Yeah. So I had the materials for the other scenario. So I was like, I could just do that one instead of the one that's on my menu. But I just wasn't feeling it. I was like, I've done this twice. I'm ready to do something else.
Yeah, move on.
And I brought the stuff for Mortal Skein. So I was like, I'll put it on. Maybe I'll get one or two. Well, ideally, I'll get two. Maybe I'll get 2 or 3 people. And then I ended up with 4, which turns out is probably a little ambitious right now for the game. Anyway, so we went with that. And yeah, my line on it has been it was very productive. So it was a good playtest in terms of moving the game forward. It was a bad session.
Bad sessions can be good playtests,
right? And I feel like, and there was a bit of a joke because like I put a piece of paper, over the menu with wrote on it. I expressly wrote "fun not guaranteed." So I did not feel like anyone was sold a bill of goods, right? Like,
right? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could talk about that a little bit, but anyway. Part of going into that was me being like, I think I should just do 2 slots. And then that'll mean I'll feel like I'm ready to play in a slot. Because that's the other thing. I was like, if I'm running 3 slots, I didn't really feel...
you got other things to do.
I had other things to do. So I was like, I either need to commit and be like, I'm going to play in this slot specifically so that I'm, if I'm only doing 2, then there's probably an entire day where I'm like, oh, well, this will be the day I play some games at Games on Demand.
Yeah.
And like, that would probably be better overall.
If I had stayed Sunday, because I left Sunday morning, but didn't even go to the conventional. If I had stayed Sunday, I would have played a game. I only did 2 because I knew I'm old.
Yeah, no,
I know what I'm talking
You have the wisdom.
I have it's right here. It's in my gray hairs. But no, yeah, exactly. It's interesting how thinking about like the reserve of energy you have for games and how that gets used up when you're running a game. It gets used up a little faster than when you're playing a game. And if you're running a playtest, it gets used up even faster, right? Like,
yeah, if I'd done that as the first game of the convention, I would have been wrecked. Like, I'm really glad that was the last. I mean, that's why I didn't put it on in the first place, right? I was like, I cannot do multiple play. I mean, you can always take it off, whatever. But like, yeah, if I sit down and have a playtest of this game and people are super excited to like, I'm at Games on Demand, I'm going to do stuff on like Thursday afternoon or whatever, and then it sucks. I'm done. Like I'm done for the convention. So having that be the last one definitely was like, it was key to me taking a flyer on it, being like, oh, I'll put it on my menu because like what worst case is we get through it and then I'm done for the week. And in my head, I'm like, my obligations are over at the end of this session, right? And that was whether I did that or not. So yeah.
Man, now I'm doing it. You said a thing in there. Yeah, if it's important, it'll come back to me.
This is plus expenses. This is how it works. I guess just to note that, so assuming that the plan goes to plan, this will be on the main feed. If you're hearing us do a plus expenses for the first time, this is it. After each of our regular Unwritten Earth Symposium episodes that we have like a topic for, or some kinds of topics or whatever, we then come back and just kind of chat for however long this is going to be.
This is the stuff that's behind the paywall because it pays our expenses, right? Like that's the
and so this is the stuff that goes behind the paywall at the Patreon. So our patrons get one episode a week, right? They get the regular episode and then they get plus expenses, as opposed to every other week free public episode. So I guess midstream, super engaging pitch for if you want to hear us do this. That's one of the many advantages of the Patreon. In addition to, we send you games every so often, and you get to have a special fun color, name color on the Discord. Yeah,
well, there we go. We pitched our sponsors, or we did our ad break.
We did our ad break right in the middle, like we usually do. We also talk about like the socks we like to wear and how horrible it is that AI exists. I'd say those are our number 1 and 2 topics generally.
I had I mean, you saw it, but like I had a somewhat viral Blue Sky thread yesterday based on conversations I had at Origins about just talking to aspiring game designers, new and aspiring game designers, and having the talk about AI and saying it just reduces your audience. Don't ever use it. There's no reason to use it. You're going to get more people excited about your game if you just illustrate it with your own stick figures than you are if you're going to use AI. That's just it. That's just how it is. I don't even have to get into any reason why people don't like AI. They don't, and that's it. It's a fact. Not we're not a thing that, first of all, I'm inclined to change. I like that people don't like AI, but second of all, got to face that reality. If in the year 2026, if you're publishing a role playing game, don't use AI.
I was kind of keeping an eye out at on the dealer hall. Just to kind of see, because like there's been this year in particular, there's been some like anime conventions and kind of general fandom conventions where there's been minor scandals about. I say minor because I just don't think these people are there important, and I wasn't, and because I wasn't there. These people, the vendors doing like vending AI art, right? And
they weren't like known. It wasn't like it's not like when A24 announced that they're going to use AI.
Yes. Yeah. A top. Exactly. But I just see those bubble up every once in a while. So I was like, I wonder if there's going to be that's the AI art booth here. I don't know if Gamma has like any kind of policy about it or anything. So I was just curious, and I don't think I don't have a great eye for it, especially in real life. Like if you print something out on a poster and put it on your booth, like I'm not looking at it long enough to really tell.
In a dealer hall, it's so much noise anyways that it is you're not really focusing.
So nothing like jumped out at me as like, there it is. I did see some stalls did have prominent, human made.
Which is great. Love to see it.
Which is great. It didn't seem like it was a pregnant point of contention in this particular context, which is good. I think it's not. No, it's not something people are fighting about.
Yeah, the conversations I had were definitely more like, here, sit down beside me, son. I have to tell you a truth. It wasn't like I was yelling at someone. I was just like laying out the landscape. But what I was going to say, and ironically, was that I made that post and then it turned my entire Monday into about AI instead of about how excited I was about everything I did at Origins.
Did it like break containment? Did you get like weird responses and stuff?
A little bit. I think it was largely our circles. I mean, it's definitely people that weren't following me, but like I think they were truly true fans. But it wasn't like I've had some that like immediately break containment and like it's a culture shock when that happens. Like you're just like, I don't know where you're coming from or what your point of view is and why you want to argue with me on this. I'm done. Like
the tone of this response indicates to me that you think you're joking, but I can't tell what the joke is.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff where it's like, okay.
Like I've accidentally written words that make a joke in your language. Like I've put syllables down. No, that wasn't the case with this one. This one actually is quite well. I was just, I don't have any like arguments. I had like one that was like, not to call anyone out, but like one was asking me like, how do you figure out if somebody used AI in their process, but it's not in the actual book? And I didn't respond to it because I'm like, that's not what this is about. And that's not my job. I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. Right. That's magic. That's telepathy. That's not a thing that I have any control over.
Yeah, I think there's. Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Oh, no. But then this morning I told the story about the D6, the little red D6 I have that is nothing but fives.
Yep. Which is an extremely good.
for the listening audience, my first game of Swords, we sat down to play Swords Without Master. Oh my God, I almost said in issue 3 of Worlds Without Master.
Yep, you sure did.
Still is. It still
is in issue 3 of Worlds. Yeah. The fix-up is the fix-up, and Swords Without Master is also in Worlds Without Master issue 3.
But sat down to play the game. I have these 2 6-sided dice. One is gray with silver pips, and the other is like forest green with gold pips. They were the dice that I play tested the game on, so they have like a nostalgic. I always bring them if I'm going to play Swords. I can pull them out, but I also always ask the players, are these sufficiently glum and jovial for you? Because they have to represent these tones. The gray one always works, but people find that forest green with the gold as like doesn't contrast as highly as they would like it to. So we opened up Games on Demand. They provide like little pencil cases, pencil boxes, like the kind you'd have at school, full of like note cards and pencils and
those are great.
And dice.
Love
and
those.
Oh man, Games on Demand is the best. So I opened up their dice bag and we found like a red die with white pips, and they were like, "Let's do it." So I went through all of my patter, explained how the game works, and like was illustrating how you have to roll a moral by, you know, putting one die on a 3 and another one on a 2 and saying, look, they're both below 3, but they don't tie. And then a mystery is like 1 on 2 and the other one on 2. And I'm like, look, they're both 2 and they tie. That's a mystery. And then when I got done explaining the rules and we made our characters, we did a bio break. And we got ready to jump into the very first phase. But when I got back from my bio break, I looked at that die and I realized that the way my brain works is that I'm going to spend that entire session reminding myself that I have to return the red die to the Games on Demand thing so I don't accidentally walk off with it. And that's one of those things that just it's a brain thing, but it was like, I'm like, this is just going to irritate me. I think I have a die almost exactly like it in my bag. So I went into my bag and I pulled out this translucent red die with white pips, swapped them out so I don't have to worry about the Games on Demand die. We play the game. We don't roll any morals. We don't roll any mysteries. It is, I would say, like largely a jovial game. I think sometimes we did because, we may have rolled a tie or you may have rolled like a 6 on the glum die or whatever. It wasn't until the end game, until we've gone through everything, when I think we did like one break just before we were like, oh, the end game stopped. Let's do a bio break again. And then we'll get into like the exciting conclusion. And when I came from the bio break, I saw it. This translucent red die with the pips on it had 5 pips on every single side. Throughout the game, all of us were rolling that same die. Nobody noticed. Everyone was like, I was wondering why we kept rolling jovial, or, or I thought we were getting a lot of 5s. And so we swapped it out again for the red die for the final bit or whatever, but it was funny and we were laughing about it. And I shared that. And it is it's so obvious when you see it.
Yeah.
But when you don't see it, your brain says that's a die and it's showing 5. And that's it. You don't look to the other side.
When you roll 2 of them next to each other, it's like we're just looking at those 2 on the top and moving on because we're more concerned with our cool game that's happening.
And like a couple things like come out, like I have a great story to tell. That's great. But also really happy the game worked. It just worked.
I saw in your thread, you were saying if you were playing Monkey Dome, you'd be stuck forever.
We'd still be playing Monkey Dome. Monkey Dome depends on you rolling 3 or less on both dice at least 3 times in the game, which we'd be playing until the heat death of the universe.
Did you, because I printed out all the new sheets for Swords.
Oh, yeah.
Did you use those? I gave them.
Yeah, we did.
But
yeah.
Did you actually use them, or were you like, we'll just use note cards?
No, actually, this is kind of interesting. We did. I think we talked a little bit about this. The sheets, I think. You
said the half sheets kind of made more sense because people don't need the overhead of looking at the rules reminders.
Yeah. If I'm running the game, they know that they could just ask me the question and that's it, right? Yeah. Like I am unique in the universe in that I am the sole source of truth here. So for me, those half sheets which had less detail written on them, I think worked perfectly fine. Not that the other ones got in the way. It was perfectly easy to get away with it, the half sheet. But yeah, I was thinking about that because if you're new to Swords and you're playing it, having all the
they just have summaries of the phases of the procedure to go through at each phase.
Yeah, having that available, I think, is good. But I think I don't know. Like, I'm not inside the heads of people because it is certainly possible that people are playing and they're looking at those and they're internalizing it, and that's. My first instinct was, they probably don't need it because I'm here. But like thinking back, especially since people took them home with them, if they pulled them out and had a little reminder, that's quite nice. So yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about like, what do you want on a character sheet?
Yeah.
In some ways, Swords is in like a nice in-between zone. Like, it's real easy for me to just hand people a blank sheet of paper and we'll make a character sheet as we... Yeah. I'm like, write this stuff down, you're done. You know, like, that's it. But on the other hand, it's nice to have a reference in front of you. So it's like... as opposed to, like, say, like, if you're playing D&D, you do want a character sheet. Like, back in the day, I have notebooks full of handwritten character sheets for D&D. But, like, nowadays, you do want, like, some kind of, like, it gets a little much if you don't have a spot for it all.
Did you use the, like, summary card one, like the mystery moral, like, card ones? Or did you just use note cards?
No, we used those mystery moral ones, and that was great. There was a thing about that one that I wanted that we should probably look into.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if you did use these, this is a good point to be like, hey, here's a little feedback on the sheets, because I didn't have a chance to run swords with them yet.
We've been using the motif icon as a bullet point, right? And that's fine. Turned a little bit. That's fine. And then the last bullet point we have Doug, right? Our little skull and sword.
The last one on the last motif, right?
Yeah, the last one on the last motif.
To indicate that it's endgame.
Yeah, and that may have tripped people up a little bit because it doesn't follow the pattern. Like, it's where the other bullet points are, but, like, people were like, oh, do we only put 2 in here? I'm like, oh, no, the third one. This indicates this is your final one, right? Yeah. So that's a thing we could think about. Yeah. But that wasn't, I mean, I just said that and then we were good. Everyone got it and that was fine.
But that's something that we can adjust. I think it's a reasonable issue.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you hadn't been there and someone was running it using the sheets and they hit that point, you just have to kind of...
might be some confusion or something. Yeah. Oh, 2 things I thought I realized. The first one was the first game we did use Morals and Mysteries at all for
right.
for our good old D5.
Yep.
But no, I had a thought about the thread bullet points. Or sorry, the motif bullet points, because at the end of the game, well, during it, you want to echo previous ones, right? And if we just turn those bullet points into just needles, we can maybe just ask LMA or if I don't know what kind of but like just the needle that's in there, then people can actually draw the thread from the previous element that they're echoing to the one that they echoed. And it just feels like tie those 2 needles together. I think that's going to be nice. Yeah. I mean, it's not important or anything. It just feels like a nice way.
Like on that in that margin, you could just do like a little loop and just draw down to where you do. And they can start crossing each other if you're echoing different ones. Or do them in different colors.
Because you're going to have to make 2 different echoes. And I've played games where people can't stop echoing, and that's fine. There's no problem with that. But the other reason was just sometimes people are like, oh, wait, did we echo? And then we had to go over the list again, and so it would be very visual, right?
Yeah. So we could do an example that shows doing that visually in the book.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure we talk about, like, we do have examples when we
have examples of doing echoing, but like we can show visually, like with a little drawn thread.
Oh yeah, and those needles will fit better in the smaller text of the book too. Like you can reduce those needles down, so that's nice.
Those look like little lines. Those be little dots. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. You were here for it, folks.
Yep, this is how we do it. Did you do the gear at all? Did you end up doing the tearing up?
No,
gear?
I wish I had. So the second group we had, that would have been wonderful for, because the second group was very like they had some characters. They had one character. Man, the player described this character as carrying like a rucksack that was too big for them. The setting here for this is Thundar, post-apocalyptic, so far into our future that wizards have shown up, like that kind of thing. For our listening audience, it's a setting I like to use at conventions because it's just the most permissive. People can make whatever they want. So this character, they leaned into the hoarding, like post-apocalyptic, you just grab everything you can. And it was a great character who just kind of collected things and then discarded the things.
Oh, yeah. So that'd be perfect. They could just have a card that's just like my backpack and just write things and then tear them off.
And they were literally doing that. So they didn't need my instructions at all. Like they were. And then there was another character who was like searching for gold and glory. And it was great. Like it would have been a good fit. But at that point, you get into it and you're like, well, I know what works. I'm just going to go with what works, and
that's kind of a recent development for the fix up.
And there's no reason why it won't work. I just was like, should I throw one more thing at them? Nah, I'm not going to bother.
You did not Columbo them?
Yeah. I have to say about this one character that had the giant rucksack full of stuff. They had several bags full of stuff. They were climbing. I was using in my head an Eidolon from our map Eidolon folio, one of Ripley's maps. There's in the corner of the map, if you look closely, you'll see a pyramid that is floating and chained to the ground, and so good. So I had that in that was what we were dealing with, and they were climbing up the chain. It was night and they were trying to be quiet because they were worried about like sentries or something like that, somebody guarding it. And the rogue who carries all the stuff was like, I tie my bag with all my loud stuff to the chain and we leave it behind. And it was like, what a wonderful way to organize. Here's loud stuff. Here's stuff that makes noises when I move. I'm just going to tie that up. And then we'll take the stuff, the soft, quiet stuff.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
Love that.
There was like one moment where they were trying to sneak, and that player was like, give me all your shoes. And everyone's like, what? So that they go in stocking feet and they're quiet. But one of the other characters, it was like a humanoid goat. And that player was like, I don't have shoes. I just have hooves. And so the first one was like, here you go. Here's some like little leather booties you can put on it. And later on, the pyramid, they're in the middle of like a perilous phase or whatever. And the pyramid has 4 chains, and like 2 of the chains break. So it shifts like it rocks, and everyone's sliding down. And the goat's like, I can't even remember what it was. I think he rolled a stymie, but like it was very clear that the goat couldn't get his footing because he had these leather booties on. Oh, it was so good.
That's really good. I love that. Yeah, I do have a couple things to say about this playtest. If you
let's do it. Let's dig into it.
So Mortal Skein, right? You're playing these big legendary sword and sorcery,
larger than life
sword and sorcery, dark fantasy ish characters. My pitch for it has been like Elric meets Earthsea. Part of what I'm doing now is evaluating how much I'm fulfilling that promise with how the game is actually going,
Yeah.
But I think that accurately captures a vibe and draws in the kind of person that I think will like this game, even if the experience is rotating around a little bit from that exactly. Anyway, I have a playtest like download that's available. I kind of got to a good place with the materials to where I'm confident enough that like, here's a game, and like, it's still in progress, and there's stuff in it that I think is really good and stuff that needs work. And that's all fine. Oh, and so part of the premise here, right, is that your characters are in a world where things are fated, and the GM is fate. It's using a lot of the tools from, it's hailing from World Wide Wrestling. It's using a lot of the tools from how booking works in wrestling to be like, how does like determining fate work in this kind of fantasy world? And it's diceless, except for there's one time you roll dice. So it's all token based economy stuff for like spending traits, and then there's this bidding mechanic for contests, etc. And so something I was reflecting on was like how things have been going from, because I've had like I had another like at a convention playtest, like a very, very early stage, and then I've been kind of doing bits and pieces of it at Playtest Tuesday, and then just kind of iterating on my own recognizance. And I was just reflecting on, how the playtesting process is going and at what level the issues are, right? So in this game, in this session, pretty much what happened was we basically had one more person than I really think 3 is good for like a sit down and let's all start and play out one full session. I think 3 really is a better player number, like GM and 3 players. I had 4 players, and then I also had a wildly imbalanced previous experience level between players, one was Jim, right? And like first of all, I can play whatever with Jim. I trust Jim. Jim knows how to bring the fun, even if the mechanics aren't necessarily
games.
there. Jim likes games. Yeah. Friend of the show. And then I'm not trying to call anyone out or anything, but like some other players, there were some games on demand GMs, and then some people who are just kind of dropping in. And then this one player who basically was scouting out games on demand just to kind of figure out what it was all about. Because he's also working on a game.
Right.
But he's, I think, coming to like the community kind of cold.
Yeah, sure.
So some of the feedback was definitely, yes, I understand this criticism that you have. However, part of that is because I didn't run this game in a manner that was going to bring you into how this kind of game should be played, right? I was playing this game in a manner of like, okay, you all kind of know what we're up to here. And so that's a personal failing of that particular session.
Moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing like bad happening. Nothing was weird. It was just like, he's like, all I did was this and this. I'm like, yeah, but in some contexts, all you did was this and this. That is the entire game, right? Like that is.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Some games you only like roll twice and then that's it. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really, really important to identify when you play test. It's really important to identify, like, is this a thing the game needs to address? Is this a thing that's just something I did when I was running it, or is this like perfectly legit to say I don't have the resources to support players that haven't come in from this angle, right? Here's the audience that I'm targeting, and the further out you are from that audience, to some extent, that's this was your playtest. I'm not putting this on anyone, but I'm just saying, like, when it comes time to actually publishing the game, you have a game out there. You, as the game designer, get to say, this is the audience I'm aiming at. I hope everyone in the audience can get what I'm doing and enjoy the thing. If you're outside that audience, the onus is on you to figure out how to get to that audience before playing the game. Yeah, and you don't want a playtest that involves somebody outside that audience to be all about how do we get you from here to here. And that's not what this time is for. That's not the purpose of the game. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there was some of that, but there was also some like very specific, like, all right, this happened in the game, and like I saw the result, and now let's talk about how that worked from your side, and also like brainstorm a little bit around like other ways to deal with that. There were basically two moments that just took all of the air out of the momentum of the story. And like, I saw it happening, but I was like, look, this isn't a stage where this isn't all right, let's adjust right now. Let's retcon. This is let's go through this game as the procedures are currently conceived. Because the first time it happened, it was like, okay, that's okay if X happens later, and then X did not happen later. Right. But the other thing I was reflecting on was that, you have the kind of post-game discussion. People start kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent about whatever their thing is, and it is not necessarily relevant to what you're doing, and that's fine. I'm corralling that. I'm used to evaluating that kind of feedback. I'm not trying to say that this is normal, right? Like, it is a totally normal thing that you're talking about the thing, you have some directed questions, and then people start having some ideas and bouncing off each other, and then someone gets on a track of like, well, here's an idea that I have, and then they start chasing it down, and it's like, that's great, okay, but I'm not going to go that direction with that particular idea, so let's come back on or let's not use the time to chase that, because there's other stuff I want to talk about. But the level of that stuff was at a higher level than the previous playtest, by which I mean in the first playtest, a lot of that conversation was about some of the fundamental underpinnings of the game, like it being diceless at all, right? Like that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then this time, all that conversation was more, we had this come up in our game, and here's why it didn't work. Here's some things, here are some ideas for how maybe it could work, like that kind of stuff. And also some conversation about like, okay, this might need a specific approach for convention play, which is a totally legit, and that lots of games, this is true, where your home game works one way and a one-shot or a convention game needs to have some different setup so that you get to like the juice, right? In that time slot. And
there was a lot of stuff that I added since the last time that I think was not remarked upon by the playtesters because it was like, oh yeah, that's just the game. That was not there the last time I played it. So I was like, okay, progress is being made.
Mm-hmm.
The issues that this game is having do feel like they are at the next level up over some of the fundamentals of the game.
Right. You've nailed down. Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good sign.
That's good. Yeah. And I think that's something to think about for playtesting in general, but also it's a distinction from that feeling where you're like, all right, back to the drawing board, you know?
Yes.
Where you have a playtest and you're like, okay, this didn't go well. And I'm not confident that any of the things that are in this game are the right thing. So now I'm going to go back and retool or change stuff or use some different, you know, kinds of assumptions or whatever. Because that, I think, is a distinctive feeling when you're like, all right, I'm going back to the drawing board again. And you're just like circling. We've talked about it in our White Whale episode where you're like, I know what I want, but I don't know how to get it. And you're just like endlessly returning. That is a different feeling than like, all right, I started here. We've gone one step up and all that stuff under the surface feels pretty like, sure, there'll be some changes and some stuff will get, you know, tweaked, but like that stuff under the surface, nobody noticed. And that's good. Okay,
right.
Cool.
Great. Yeah.
I can move on with like the stuff that people did notice. And playtesting ideally is progressing kind of up those levels where more and more of it just feels like, oh yeah, that's the game. And the critique is all around things that that stand out to playtesters as like not really being right given all that other stuff that just feels like, oh yeah, that's the game.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix we have. I'm trying to think of where this saying, I think it might have to do with film, where people are like, people recognize good cinematography and good, you know, blah 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 blah, but this people you only recognize when it's bad. I don't know if it's like might be like sound design. You know, it's one of those things where they're like,
yeah,
or no, editing. This comes up with editing all the not film editing, but like editing of fiction
like
and
prose,
game books.
Prose edit.
Yeah, prose. You only recognize it when it went wrong. You don't recognize it. And I think game design has both the arcane gems that people like recognize right away. They're like, ooh, that's neat. Like, I like what you're doing there. And they have the things that's just like, we don't recognize it because they do what they have to do and they get you in the right spot. And then you don't pay, really,
you don't even,
they never write. You don't notice because they're so good at what they're doing, and you have to like kind of recognize when I think you like what you just said. I mean, that's good. Like you have to recognize, like, hey, this whole bit here, it just works. Like it's
right.
You know, like it's not creating a fuss, and people are like, of course, those are the rules.
Yeah,
they've always been the rules since the dawn of time.
Yeah, since I sat down at this table, they've been the rules, and therefore that's what they are. Yeah, like I guess specifically, there's a whole thing in the beginning when there's 6 characters, there's 6 playbooks, and so you pick which ones you're playing. You make some choices about who they are and whatever, and then there's a thing where you generate an initial set of known futures, which are little sentences that are like, here's a thing that is like a destiny or a choice that is made that is important, that could be any of these characters could end up with that as part of their future. So they're generated by the set of characters that you've picked, but once they are generated, they're just in play and anyone can take them potentially. And that's part of the advancement mechanic also, is taking known futures. And so that process has been totally overhauled since earlier drafts and refined from a GM player facing thing where the GM is kind of like going out to each person and generating it from like a list that the GM. This is a lesson for the rest of the game, actually, right? Based on some of the other feedback, but to a player facing thing where there's these lists of known futures that are pre-generated, and you ask there's a question that comes with each playbook, and then someone volunteers to answer it, and they pick the answer off of a list that's also pre-generated. And a lot of work went into making that like good. And then when we did that at the table, it was good.
Yeah.
It just worked, and everyone was excited about what they picked. And like, it's the heat questions from World Wide Wrestling. It's right. That's what that is. It's like, if the prompts are good, then people are really excited to answer them. So that was the thing where I was like, okay, so that just works. And then one of the things coming out of it is like there needs to be a little less, oh, I'm the GM doing something over here and it has this effect over there, and a little more like, let's put this out in front of everybody. So, and I'm like, oh yeah, I started doing that in this other thing and it worked really well. So that probably is something I should be doing more of for sure. Anyway, we're going a little long on the plus expenses, but I just thought, this was a good moment to reflect on those, the games we actually played, since we didn't talk about those in our main feed episode.
It's interesting. This plus expenses, just, if you haven't been with us this whole time, is a little different. Like we normally
talk about this on the show, I guess.
Yeah. We normally like avoid that and just talk about like TV we've been watching. But that's fine. I think this is great. It's going to end up on the main feed, and we had a lot to learn. And there's so much more. Like I cannot tell you, by you I mean our listeners here, like just how much, like we've recorded some of our discussions, but not all of them. And there's just came away from that con with a lot of good ideas. Some that will just disappear forever, and some that may come to fruition. And I'm excited to see which survives.
What we do need to talk about, it's probably another good plus expenses topic, is games and shames.
Games and shames, yes.
Because I think that's probably not going to turn into a real...
It's not going to be a real thing.
What we talked about is not going to turn into a real thing we do, but I think we should talk about it on the mic.
We should talk about it.
Because the concept, I think, is really fun. So I guess that's our really, really strong pitch for if you're interested in giving us a couple bucks a month to help support the show and all the things we do. You'll hear all about games and shames in our next plus expenses, assuming we remember that. This.
Yeah. If you're in the Discord, remind us.
The other thing about plus expenses is we have a really strong sign off every single time.
Right. And we're going to deliver that now.